In this edition of Southern Newsweek, many gather in solidarity as two people are sentenced for the manslaughter of a 3-year-old child. Dunedin researchers discover a link between moderate drinking and cancer, but say there are ways to reduce risk. And the University of Otago's new proctor shares some of the ideas he has for managing troublesome students. Kia ora, I'm Rebecca Dupree. More than 100 people gathered in central Dunedin as part of a nationwide rally to end New Zealand's abysmal child abuse record. The march was held to coincide with the sentencing of the two people charged with the manslaughter of 3-year-old Moko.
Tears for Moko. On the streets of Dunedin, hundreds of kilometres from where 3-year-old Moko Rangotiheriri was killed, locals have gathered to march on the day his killers are sentenced. The issue of family violence in New Zealand can result in the deaths of children like Moko and tragically many others. However, Dunedin Coalition of Family Violence Coordinator Rob Thompson says there is a time and a place for anger.
Well, anger can inspire us to make a change. I'm really angry that some little child was murdered, was beaten to death. I'm really angry that so many families and individuals are suffering in our community. I'm really angry that people are dying.
March organiser Amy Telfer-Childs of the Sensible Sentencing Trust says she's pleased with the number of people who've turned out to march. She's concerned that if Moko's killers, Tanya Shayla and David Hairua, receive a sentence of manslaughter, it will be too light a punishment.
In my personal view, it doesn't fit. The initial charge of murder was correct. It met all the criteria for a murder conviction. However, behind closed doors, there was plea bargaining went on to look at them pleading guilty to a charge of manslaughter instead of murder.
Senior Constable Tony Wall of Dunedin Police walked alongside the protesters. She's pleased with the mood of the protest and says as a police officer, she sees every aspect of family violence.
Absolutely sad, it's devastating, and you know, the type of job that we do, it's heartbreaking. We see both sides of it, you know, we're at the cold face and then you've got to go home to your own kids, so it is really emotional, it's hard, but you know, marches like this, hopefully the community can get behind it and stop this sort of thing from happening.
An estimated 200 people took part in Dunedin's march, while thousands marched nationwide at similar events. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
A multi-million-dollar pipeline renewal project in Kaikorai Valley is entering its penultimate stage. The second phase of the work to replace the suburb's century-old wastewater pipes is nearing completion. And while it's causing disruption to residents, Dunedin City Council staff are confident it will be worth it.
Extensive pipe renewal work to replace old infrastructure in Kaikorai Valley is nearing the end of the second of 4 phases. DCC staff involved in the work are happy everything is going to plan so far.
Stage 1 and Zone 1 of the Stage 2, all the works are in roads and in the carriageways. So Stage 1 is completed in Shetland Street and part of Lynn Street. And Stage 2 is going on in Highgate and Mardale Street and section of Shetland Street.
He says the pipes need to be replaced as they were constructed in the 1900s and now have defects and dislocated joints. Groundwater is getting into wastewater pipes which don't have the capacity to hold both, risking flooding. While DCC staff say the work is tedious, they're confident it will benefit residents in the long run.
Benefits of the work, as far as the wastewater pipeline, at the same time we are increasing the capacity of the stormwater pipe as well as we are renewing the water mains. By renewing the water mains, we are increasing the fire flow capacity in the water mains.
In this latest phase, 170 private properties will be impacted by what DCC staff say are necessary sewer replacements. Kaikorai Valley's Bishop Court fields will also be affected, with contractors digging up parts of the field.
We are going to renew the wastewater pipeline from Lynn Street and all the way to this manhole. And we are going to take the new pipeline at the edge of the rugby field. So there won't be any future repair works or maintenance work in the middle of the rugby field.
Stages 3 and 4 of the $14 million project are yet to begin, but the second stage is expected to be finished by August, and DCC staff say the entire project will be completed in 2017. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
New University of Otago research shows a link between moderate drinking and the risk of developing cancer. Around 20 New Zealand women die each year from breast cancer, which is now being linked to consuming fewer than 2 alcoholic drinks a day. But those behind the research have some suggestions on how to reduce the risk.
Highlighting the issues. Professor Jenny Connor has been researching the effects of regular alcohol consumption for several years. Her latest findings show that even a moderate amount of regular alcohol consumption can increase the risk of cancer, and in particular breast cancer.
And so we found that about 236 deaths in 2012 could be attributed to cancers from people's drinking. And about half of those were in men and half were in women. But as we all know, men drink a great deal more than women. And the reason that they have equal numbers of cancers is that breast cancer seems to be particularly sensitive to alcohol.
During the study period, more than 60 women died of breast cancer nationwide. Connor says a large number of those women drank alcohol regularly.
There were 65 breast cancers in that year, breast cancer deaths due to alcohol, and about a third of those were attributable to drinking less than 2 drinks a day.
She recommends a more moderate and less regular approach to alcohol consumption. That advice equates to not cutting it out altogether, but instead to reducing drinking to only a couple of times a week or less. Connor explains that by changing behaviours, it can reduce the chemical effect that alcohol has on the body.
Most cancers that are associated with alcohol seem to be due to the carcinogenic effect of acetaldehyde. And acetaldehyde is the first step in the breakdown of alcohol. So when you drink it, your body starts to break it down, and the first thing that's produced is carcinogenic. So you get cancers of the mouth and the throat and the esophagus and the liver and the bowel, which are due to acetaldehyde coming in contact with the tissues.
Professor Connor refutes some pro-alcohol lobbyists' suggestion that alcoholic beverages like red wine contain antioxidants, which are said to combat cancer. She says the red wine argument is simply a red herring. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Residents can now see how much pollution is in the air with a new online resource. Land, Air, Water Aotearoa has released a monitoring system that allows people to check the region's air quality in real time. And those behind the resource hope it will help grow awareness and understanding of air quality issues in Otago.
Monitoring pollution in real time. Members of the public now have online access to data relating to the region's air quality. Otago Regional Council staff who manage Otago's air quality are pleased to have the resource.
We've added a air monitoring module to the Land, Air, Water Aotearoa website, the LAWA website, and that allows the community to monitor their air quality with hourly updates live online.
The website monitors air pollutants in cities and towns throughout the country. Residents can look at trends over years, months, days and even hourly. Current data shows Dunedin has seen a decline in air pollution over the years, and Woodhead is hoping that will continue.
For Dunedin, the air quality is pretty good. It has improved over the last decade, but we still need people to manage their home heating appliances and ensure they are working efficiently.
Home heating is the main source of air pollution both nationally and locally. In Otago, it equates to 85% of air pollution, beating out traffic and industrial waste. Council staff want residents to take those statistics on board and think about the impact of their home heating practices.
Burning dry wood and not banking them down. This is a winter problem and the pollutants build up overnight, so it's important people managing their home heating sources efficiently.
There are 150 air monitoring sites around the country, all gathering data. Land, Air, Water Aotearoa is set to expand its monitoring presence with plans to launch a groundwater quality resource next. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
The University of Otago's new proctor has been on the job for just a few weeks, but already he's enjoying the position immensely. Former Dunedin police officer Dave Scott took over the role after his predecessor quit only 4 months in, and he's planning to make some changes to the way troublesome students are handled.
Learning on the job. Former police officer Dave Scott is settling into his new position as proctor at the University of Otago. Despite only having been in the role for a few weeks, he says he's enjoying it.
It's an exciting new role, a new chapter of my life. I've come into the university from a police background, but I'm still running a team with my Campus Watch team here in the university, and the role gives me the opportunity to work with young people and to positively influence them in their lives.
Scott was formerly the Dunedin Area Response Manager in charge of looking after the policing front line. He was in the force for 24 years before deciding to take up the proctor position. He says although the job is very different to policing, there are similar dynamics that have allowed him to slot into the job easily.
I think with police there's a lot of negative to policing, death, family violence and the like that takes a toll on you over time. This new role as the proctor I see it as mainly positive. Dealing with young people.
Despite his short time as proctor, Scott's already met and dealt with a handful of troublesome students. As he settles into the role, he says he's looking forward to testing and implementing some productive punishment techniques.
One of the things that I am keen on doing is making community work that students are doing through the proctor's office meaningful. So one of my ideas that I have progressed since I've been here is for that community work to be through OUSA, so that the work that they're doing directly benefits other students.
Scott stepped into the role after former proctor Dave Miller resigned earlier this year. While Miller lasted just 4 months on the job, Scott's hoping he'll be around for a bit longer. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, we'll find out why Otago is claiming the highest number of vegans in the country, and Dunedin's Octagon fills up with cans. Welcome back. Otago has been identified as having the highest number of vegans per capita in the country. Close to 1,000 people were surveyed in a recently released report by a national vegan advocacy group, and a high percentage of young people in Dunedin may be behind the regional numbers.
Sorting through the stats, Carl Scott of the Dunedin Otipoti Vegan Society is looking over recently released survey results which identify Otago as having the highest number of vegans per capita. A total of 865 responses are used in the report, and while Scott says it's a small number, it's still representative.
This was sort of a follow-up to see if anything had changed. A friend of mine called Michael Hitchcock up in Auckland organised this, and the results have just been sort of finalised and released, and we were really interested to see that Otago really stands out among the rest of New Zealand as having more vegans. We thought that's something worth talking about.
Scott believes there are 4 main reasons why Otago has a large number of vegans. He says it comes down to a number of groups promoting the lifestyle, as well as the increasing information available to those eager to know more. But the main reason he's identified has to do with the city's substantial tertiary population.
One of the key things we think what's happening in Otago is that a lot of young people are switching on to veganism, and I guess that's through social media, internet-based technologies. People are learning the facts and coming to conclusions that lead to veganism. And of course Dunedin in particular has a large number of young people at the university and the Polytech.
Scott says the increasing number of vegan and vegetarian cafes popping up around the city is another reason why the vegan population may be on the up. He says more and more he's fielding inquiries from locals keen to know more about the lifestyle.
And also one of the admins we've got a Vegans Vegetarians Facebook page. We've got over 1,000 people on that Facebook page, and that's growing insanely fastly. But the Vegan Society is also growing quite rapidly. We're often getting new people signing up, wanting to come along to our potlucks and learn and find out information.
Alongside Dunedin, both Christchurch and Wellington also had a strong showing of vegans when surveyed. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A local scholar believes Scotland may leave the United Kingdom to join the European Union in a little over 2 years. The Scottish Studies professor says a referendum seems likely following last week's British exit vote, and he says it's an outcome that other local Scots are already in support of.
First, it was Brexit, but is a Scottish exit on the cards? Scotland could soon vote to leave the United Kingdom for a better relationship with the European Union. Speaking from his office in the Edinburgh of the South, Professor Liam McIlvenny of the Centre for Irish and Scottish Studies believes it's time for his homeland to sever formal ties with Britain.
I can't envisage a situation in which Scotland retains membership of the EU without becoming independent. I think it will be not just highly likely but inevitable that Scotland will have a second independence referendum.
McIlvany believes the Scottish First Minister described it best when he said it's democratically unacceptable that Scotland has been voted out of the EU by English votes. He says he's already heard from plenty of other Dunedin-based Scots, saying they also believe it's time to break free.
I think what has surprised me is the extent to which people 12,000 miles away are keenly interested in the events that are taking place in Scotland. There does seem to be an appetite, as there was in the 2014 independence referendum, to hear about what's happening in Scotland. So that's been quite surprising and gratifying.
McIlvany's been monitoring Newswise since the Brexit vote and says he's noticed many influential people have stated, post-Brexit, that they will now vote for an independent Scotland.
I think we're in a position of such uncertainty and volatility now that the whole picture has been transformed. And one of the striking things is the extent to which people who were very firm no voters in 2014 have indicated that in these changed circumstances they will vote yes. I mean, everyone from J.K. Rowling to the Daily Record newspaper has been edging towards a yes vote. So I think this has been an absolute game changer.
McIlvany says when Scotland held an independence referendum in 2014, a 600-page document was produced giving arguments both for and against, with every conceivable outcome taken into account. However, he says it looks like the UK's idea to leave the EU was a much less detailed decision. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Thousands of donated cans of food filled the lower Octagon recently for the annual Octacan Appeal. The Presbyterian Support Otago event is all about ensuring there's enough food for those struggling this winter. And this year, the need is bigger than ever.
Octacan to Octagon. Presbyterian Support Otago staff are packing up thousands of donated cans from this year's Octacan Appeal. The day-long event started off strong, with people of all ages taking the time to drop off whatever they could spare. Despite rain settling in soon after, staff didn't let it dampen their spirits.
Well, the weather's wet, but the spirits are warm. It's been going really, really well. I mean, unfortunately, rain and Octacan seem to be a thing that come together, but we are so very happy with how generous people have been this year.
Presbyterian Support Otago is aiming to collect 15,500 cans this year, breaking last year's record of almost 14,500.
It's an interesting question, and it seems to go up each year, unfortunately. It would be wonderful to be able to say we don't need so much help, but this year we once again have a higher demand for our social services and for our food bank.
Lindemann says while it's a huge task keeping up with demand for the food bank service, she says no one should ever feel embarrassed to reach out and ask for help.
I do think pride keeps a lot of people away. It is a very discreet service, and I think there is absolutely no harm or anything to be ashamed about in terms of reaching out for help.
She says the organisation is there to help and happy to do so. It's a service that will very much be bolstered by the many thousands of donations received for this year's Octacan. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Just ahead on Southern Newsweek, a former All Blacks coach teaches the science behind sport, and hundreds endure a polar blast to raise money for surf lifesaving volunteers. Welcome back. A former All Blacks coach was in town recently giving Dunedin High School students a talk on sports science. Sir Graham Henry was here for the New Zealand International Science Festival to emphasise the importance of science in high-performance sport.
Greeting young sport and science enthusiasts, World Cup winning coach Sir Graham Henry gave a talk to local high school students about science and high-performance sport. He's here as part of the New Zealand International Science Festival.
They asked me to speak at this science conference for secondary school kids, and I touched on a few points which are important in science for the All Blacks, and enjoyed the company of young New Zealanders.
Henry talked about a range of topics including nutrition, physiotherapy and mental well-being. He's at the forefront of bringing science into international rugby with his role as the All Blacks coach.
I think psychology is massive. You know, I think having the right attitude to play and the right purpose, and people being grounded and always trying to improve is critical, and that's been a part of the backbone of the All Blacks for a number of years now.
Henry is a former university student and was invited by the University of Otago's Development and Alumni Relations Office. He's here inspiring young hopefuls about the importance of sports science and give them ideas for future careers. Being held on the eve of the All Blacks Test match, he'll be able to see his techniques being put to use at tomorrow's game.
The All Blacks have got some very talented people who support them, and right across the board in the management, and they're doing a great job.
He's here to kick off the New Zealand International Science Festival that starts early July. The festival will be running until the middle of the month. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
A host of local musicians took to the stage last weekend in aid of 2 local charities. The inaugural fanfare concert was put on by the Rotary Club of Dunedin to raise money for the Southern Heritage Trust and keep Dunedin beautiful. And it gave some young performers a chance to show off.
Open up and say la. The town hall was alive with the sound of music at the weekend for the inaugural fanfare fundraiser concert, coordinated by the Rotary Club of Dunedin. Club President Grant Chirnside says putting the show together was a team effort, and he hints that it might happen again.
This is the first year, and it celebrates 150 years of Dunedin's history, but the Rotary Club of Dunedin's been around for 93 years.
Acts range from Kapa Haka Group He Waka Katoia to the RSA Choir and Dunedin sound stalwarts the Verlaines.
A range of Dunedin musicians, including the Oxo Cubans, the Dunedin Harmony Chorus, the RSA Choir, and of course Norman, the organ.
One of the more heartwarming acts on a wet Sunday evening was the Dunedin Kids Ukulele Jam Band with B-flat 6, whose version of the Bobby McFerrin tune Don't Worry Be Happy drew much applause. Any event featuring Dunedin music would not be complete without the City of Dunedin Pipe Band, with the skirl of pipes and snappy snare drums ricocheting around the town hall. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
An emerging fashion designer is calling on the public to help her take the next step in her career. The young designer is getting ready to travel to Auckland to show her latest collection on the country's most prestigious runway. But before she can get started, she's got to get the funds together.
Putting pencil to paper. Emerging fashion designer Julia Palm is hard at work creating a series of looks for New Zealand Fashion Week. But before she can jet off, she has to raise the money needed to make an entirely new collection and get to Auckland.
As fashion moves so fast, I really want to make a new one because my old collection will be a year old by the time Fashion Week comes around. And as a person, I change a lot, and yeah, I just really want to extend my design practice.
Palm is one of 3 Otago Polytechnic graduates chosen to show at the August event. Her previous collection was based on her family history and utilised human hair, PVC and iron-on transfers. For the new work, she's planning to continue with a similar concept, with the collection bolstered by a handful of collaborations.
I've got a really exciting collaboration coming up with Ted Whittaker, a local videographer. So we're going to be making a whole new video to go alongside the collection. And that's something that I always love doing with my work, is collaborating. And I'm also working with a local artist as well to use her photographs as a print on fabric.
A local representative from Boosted is helping brainstorm ideas for the campaign, which includes setting up a week-long exhibition in a George Street window. Palm says once the fundraiser is off the ground, she'll finally be able to think ahead to what Fashion Week will be like.
It's a huge opportunity, so just to bring my designs to the biggest fashion event in New Zealand is just going to boost my career hugely. And I've already met some amazing people who are willing to meet up with me and help me, or come to the show or style a photo shoot while I'm in Auckland. And yeah, it's just going to really open lots of doors for me, which is so exciting.
Palm is aiming to raise $4,000 in order to pay those helping her, cover material costs and buy airfares to Auckland. While she says it's hard to find that money, she's hopeful the community will pull through and help her realise her runway dream. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And finally, the St Clair Surf Life Saving Club is gearing up for summer thanks to donations from the community. Hundreds of people swarmed to the beach last weekend for the club's annual Polar Plunge fundraiser, and the event proved Dunedin residents will go far to support their local volunteers.
A chilly countdown and they were off. Hundreds of people braved the freezing temperatures at St Clair Beach for the city's annual Polar Plunge fundraiser. St Clair Surf Lifesaving Club chairman James Coombs says he's impressed with the amount of people coming out despite the bad weather.
I think it's just good seeing the enthusiasm for people to be at the beach, particularly during winter, and actually experiencing part of Dunedin that they probably don't spend a lot of time in during the winter months.
The water temperature was a bone-chilling 8 degrees, but it wasn't cold enough to keep these brave souls away, with many taking the opportunity to dress up.
A bit freezing, to be honest. First out there, I felt like I had to do it like Braveheart, you know, like full guns blazing. But
oh, mate, it's pretty warm.
Hey, that bull's gone out to sea.
No, it's awesome. The colder the weather, the warmer the water.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll do it again, but
yeah, totally worth it.
Yeah,
won't do it again.
Hot food was on hand to ensure everyone was able to keep warm after their winter dip. Firefighters were also on the scene with warm water for those taking part.
It's kind of just a human nature sort of thing. People enjoy the experience of doing something a bit different. It's a bit of a thrill ride for them, I guess, and it's pretty short. I mean, all they have to do is run out and then they get the hot water from the fire truck.
Money raised from the event will help the surf club with buying new surf patrol equipment ahead of the warmer months. Henry McMullen, 39, Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Remember to check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or you can keep up with Dunedin's news via our website, dunedintv.co.nz. I'm Rebecca Dupree. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.